Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where we recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and it's the 5th of December, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So as you may have noticed, today's episode of The Refuel is the 500th episode. That's just crazy when I say it out loud. 500 episodes of The Refuel. Pretty much all of them were around half an hour each. There was a couple of episodes that went longer, or maybe a few episodes that went longer over the last 500 of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of the achievement, if I do say so myself. I mean, I obviously have said before I have no plans on stopping, so we're going to be at 1,000, probably in another couple of years or so. But thank you to everyone who has been with me, whether you started at number 1, whether you started at number 300 and you're here today, it doesn't matter. I appreciate all of you for kind of listening to me ramble on about Ethereum and crypto stuff and kind of engaging with me on the Discord channel in the YouTube comments. Always appreciate that. And you should join the Discord channel if you haven't yet. Definitely go do that. There's a lot of lively discussion that happens in there, so much that I can't even keep up with it anymore. And it's great that it's great for me because I don't have to participate in a lot of the conversations and I don't feel obligated to, because there's so many other people in there, so many smart people just having their own conversations, talking about things, which is always really exciting to read back on. But yeah, big milestone for the refuel today. And on that note as well, there's actually something else going to be coming back to the Daily Gwei ecosystem, which I think I stopped doing maybe about a year ago, but I'm bringing it back, is the Daily Gwei AMA series. So I used to do these about a year ago. Every 2 weeks, I would collect questions from the community, and then I'd answer them on a Discord live voice session. But there's going to be a few changes here. So I'm bringing the AMAs back, but it won't be a live Discord chat anymore. It will just be an offline recording that I do every 2 weeks. And you can still ask your questions in the Discord channel, in the AMA series channel there. So if you join the Discord, go to the AMA series channel and ask your question there. I'll be kicking this off on Saturday, so I'll record the video and upload it on Saturday morning US time, and I'll just record it on my own. It won't be a live thing anymore. And the reason for that is because it was kind of hard for me to do logistically. I used to do them at 11 p.m. my time, and then I'd have to change it because of daylight savings and things like that, just to make sure that people could be there to actually participate. But really, the vast majority of the questions I was answering were always just coming from that AMA series channel rather than people asking questions live. So it kind of became pointless to do them live. So I'll definitely just be recording the answers and uploading them there. And you'll have 2 weeks from every Saturday to ask questions for the next AMA, and you can ask them in the AMA series channel whenever you want in those 2 weeks, and then I'll get them answered. And of course, I'll be recording it and uploading it to YouTube and on the podcast, just like I do the refuel. So yeah, as I said, go ask your questions in the AMA series channel if you have anything for me. And as I said, it is an AMA and ask me anything. It doesn't have to just be about Ethereum or crypto. It can be about anything, but feel free to ask me absolutely anything you want about Ethereum and crypto. I'll always do my best to answer it. But you can also ask me about questions about things such as like angel investing, which I know a lot of you guys are pretty interested in, because it's something you don't really get to participate in, and I obviously do. So getting the inside scoop there, I know is very interesting to you guys. And on that note, I actually did a stream with David Hoffman on the weekend. You can go check that on the Bankless YouTube channel. And we talked a bit about that, about the angel investing side of things, about how the private markets differ from public markets, and our thoughts around that. So definitely go check that one out as well. But yeah, I guess happy 500th episode to the Refuel, and welcome back to the AMAs. All right, so we have a new MEV dashboard out of the rated kind of tool here today. So I've talked about rated.network before, and they've launched something at rated.network/relays. So it's a relay monitoring screen or tool as relays start to mushroom, counting 10 distinct ones in the first 75 days post-merge. Good data and monitoring become increasingly important. Now, we know that I've referenced the mevwatch.info website a bunch of times. Well, this is just another tool in your tool belt. Now, I don't think rated.network is differentiating between relays that are censoring and not censoring. I don't think they're actually including this at all on here. Yeah, what they are tracking is a bunch of things like total value relayed, last 500 epic slot distribution. So how many of that was MEV boost? How many is a vanilla block? How many is an empty block? It seems that the vanilla blocks only account for around 10% of the network. So the 90% of the network is using MEV boost, which shouldn't be surprising considering the fact that the rewards are potentially double if you're using MEV boost instead of not using them in terms of the APR. on your ETH stake. Then they've got a breakdown by MEV relay around, I guess this is like a dominance dashboard. And then under that, they have a MEV boost relay market share. Flashbots is at about 74% market share. Blocks route max profit is 15%, block native 4%, and then there's like a long tail here. I don't know what this market share is measured by. Like, is it like the last 7 days, or here we go, last 30 days? Okay, they have a rating time window up the top here. So if we go all, that should change that. Yeah, so if I do the last 7 days, because this has been interesting to me, Flashbot's dominance is actually going below 70% right now. Block native is actually coming up in the world too. They are a censoring relay, just FYI, and I'm an advisor to Block native, but I don't mention them because of that. I mention just because I noticed their market share growing there. But yeah, Flashbots' market share is definitely coming down. And then if we go like the last day or so to see those new relays popping up, like the ultrasound money relay and the agnostic relay here, and also Flashbots over the last day is down to about 65%. But as we know, a day's worth of data isn't worth much. So I always like looking at 30 days or more, and you can see the data there. But yeah, you can change this. You can even change it to all-time data. But just a great new dashboard for us to be monitoring these relays here. Now, I did mention there are 10 active relays, and this is and today there are actually more active non-censoring relays than censoring ones. And you can see, as mentioned on the mevboost.info website, there are only 4 censoring relays right now, which is Flashbots, Block Native, Eden Network, and Blocks Route Regulated, whereas there are 6 non-censoring relays, which is Blocks Route, Max Profit, Manifold, Agnostic Boost, Blocks Route Ethical, Relayor, and Ultrasound Money. Now, of course, the market share isn't even at all. Flashbot still dominates, and I mean, 79% of all MEV Boost blocks are censoring, so 4 relays hold 79% of the market share, but these non-censoring runs are relatively new. Besides Blocks Route Max Profit, which has actually gone up to almost 20% market share lately, and I guess like Manifold and Blocks Route Ethical, 3 of these are very new. Agnostic Boost and Ultrasound Money only came out on Friday or something, right? And Relayor has only been out for a few weeks, so we're gonna have to give them time to bake, probably a few months to see what happens there. But there's still a downtrend on the kind of like censorship here. So in terms of post-merge daily OFAC compliant blocks, including all blocks, we seem to have topped out and going on a slight downtrend. In terms of just MEV boosted blocks, we have been on a nice downtrend for a while now. I mean, we peaked at 97% of all MEV boost blocks were OFAC compliant. Now it's just 80%. So we've definitely come down there, which is really awesome to see. And this is in the face of some big entities enabling MEV boost on their staking pools or staking services such as Coinbase, right? You can see Coinbase is dominated by a lot by Flashbots here. They only did MEV boost recently, and they hold about 11.6% of the staking market share. So in the face of that, we've still managed to come down, which is really positive. But yeah, just really like this new dashboard from the rated.network folks. You can check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But nature is healing, so to speak, guys, in the MEV world. And I've talked about this a lot. I'm not going to rehash it, but I think that nature is healing, but you also need to set your expectations. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a week or a month. It's going to take multi-months of us waiting and for the relay environment to get I guess like more competitive, and for the builder environment as well to be more competitive, and for more people to come online, for more non-censoring relayers to come online as well. And what I'm really looking out for is one of these censoring ones to actually change to non-censoring. Now, that's obviously something that probably has a low chance of happening. It would probably, I mean, definitely for Flashbots, and I think, I could probably say with certainty for Flashbots because it's been publicly, I guess, confirmed in so many words, probably not like explicitly, but through the various communications from Flashbots, we can assume that the reason why they're censoring just comes down to what their lawyers have told them, and I would assume the same is true for Block Native, Eden Network, and Blocks Routes regulated here. Blocks Routes funny though, because I don't know why they're offering a regulated one when they have max profit and ethical. It doesn't really make sense to me, and their regulated market share is only 2.3%. So, and like logically, that would be less profitable than their other ones, because of the fact of the matter is, like, it's obviously Tornado Cash transactions aren't a very big pool of transactions these days, but they will be paying a fee, so there will still be a tiny little profit difference there. But that's off track here. In terms of, I guess you could say like Flashbots, Block Native, and Eden Network, which don't offer non-censoring relays at all, it's all on their lawyers. And if their lawyers change their tune and say, hey, we don't see a risk here anymore, or something's changed and we think that you can do, you can offer a non-censoring relay now, which again, low chance of happening, but that could happen, right? It's non-zero still. That would be huge. That'd be awesome to see, because as I've said before, shutting down a relayer is not a permanent solution. It is a band-aid solution. And also, even changing from censoring to non-censoring, like that, these relays could be forced to censor again, and there's precedent of them doing it. Same is true for the ones that are not censoring right now. Maybe they get some kind of legal action against them, or some cease and desist, or whatever. We don't know. It's too early in the game to know that. But the end goal, obviously, is to build decentralized relays where they basically, there's no incentive for them to censor at all, and because they're not centralized, it's much harder for them to do that. But that's more, I guess, like down the line. For now, these are all centralized relayers, but the more the merrier, because obviously the more that come out, the better it is for relay diversity, but also the better it is for censorship resistance. All right, so I put a tweet out over the weekend after setting up my first Rocket Pool mini pool saying, I don't need to do it, but after setting up my first mini pool, I want to set up more mini pools and also build myself a new solo staking PC. Ethereum staking is addictive. Now, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I've had the same staking PC that I had when I first started staking, when the Big Chain first went live. I mean, I sent my deposit as one of the first deposits to go in on November 24th, 2020, which is about a week before the Big Chain went live. And since then, I've added to that. It's a solo staking PC. My Rocket Pool PC is completely separate. I run two distinct ones. I just didn't want to commingle them. But I am upgrading my solo staking PC. I ordered the parts coming this week, so I'll be building a new one. I didn't need to do it, but like I got so excited after setting up my mini pool that I was like, oh, like it's, I feel like I should upgrade and just like further future-proof my staking box, even though it's not necessary at all. And funny thing is, right now on my solo staking box, I just haven't changed this because I haven't gotten around to it, or kind of couldn't be bothered. It's running on Windows, and I've used Linux a lot in the past, but for the Rocket Pool mini pool, I set it up all on Linux, and I was like, far out. I love working with the command line so much. I mean, obviously I use like PowerShell with Windows, but it's a different experience. I just love the seamlessness of the command line, never having to go into a GUI at all, and not having to touch that or worry about that. So I think with my new PC, I'm going to set it up as a Linux box, and I'm going to just import all of my kind of like validators into it when I get around to it, I guess, so to speak, because the migration should be relatively easy. You just have to import your validator keys. Shouldn't be too hard to do that. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that. Maybe I'll post a picture of the build when on Twitter once I do it. It's definitely the current build I've got is quite small. It's probably a larger build, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I love building computers, but just generally, as I said last week, setting up the mini pool was very straightforward, very easy. And I want to set up more. I want to get to like 5 at least. I have 1 right now, so another 4. And obviously I suggest that anyone who has 16 ETH and has the RPL, I think it's 105 RPL, something like that, that's required. I recommend definitely going with Rocket Pool for staking, because solo staking obviously requires that 32 ETH. You can't get around that. Whereas with Rocket Pool, it's currently 16 ETH, and they're looking into ways of lowering that to potentially 8 or even 4 ETH from what I've seen. So even if it goes to 8 ETH, that is a huge thing. Like that's actually pretty massive, because you're opening up a massive amount of people to be able to stake with Rocket Pool, and then going to 4 ETH and even lower than that, it's obviously even bigger. And the cool thing about that is that would inherit any changes to Ethereum solo staking. So if solo staking went from 32 to 16 ETH, I mean, not expecting it to happen anytime soon, but if it did, theoretically, Rocket Pool could then halve instantly for their mini pool requirement. So if it was 4 ETH, at that point, it could go to 2 ETH, and it'd be effectively the same thing, right? But obviously, it helps a lot for getting more people involved with solo staking or staking via mini pools. All right, so Stani from Aave has put together an Aave Protocol v3 overview, and he says it's good time to review why v3 as a flexible architecture is much appreciated. The Aave v3 was deployed earlier this year across various networks, including Polygon, Avalanche, and L2, such as Arbitrum and Optimism, as a cross-chain strategy. And then he goes on to give a bit of a recap of what's going on in Aave. I mean, it's quite a lengthy thread, so I'm going to go link that in the YouTube description. You can check it out for yourself. But the reason I bring it up is because I wanted to talk a little bit about Aave and these quote-unquote DeFi 1.0 protocols that are still around today, still building and still working very seamlessly. And we saw how seamlessly they've worked, especially this year, in the face of all the CeFi collapses. I think there's not been a better advertisement for DeFi than all the CeFi collapses, especially things like FTX and especially fake DeFi like Terra, right? So in the face of all of that, people have often regarded these DeFi 1.0 things as boring, right? It's boring. There's nothing here. Like some of them have fee share, some of them don't. The tokens don't really do anything. It's not degen. It's, we know what we're getting with Aave. We know what we're getting with Uniswap. But the point of finance is not to be fast and loose, not to be degen, not to be Ponzi-esque, right? The point of proper finance and a proper financial system is to be stable and predictable. Now, you're not going to get that from a lot of what is claimed to be DeFi. And I'm not saying that things that are more, I guess, like on the degen side of things couldn't be considered DeFi as well. But if we're trying to build a proper financial system that everyday people can get use out of and that institutions can feel comfortable using, they're not going to, these things that look like Ponzi's or that look really degen are not going to be those things. Those things are going to come in the form of Aave as a lending market, right? Of Uniswap as an exchange to basically exchange any asset you want through through an AMM, which is obviously a very powerful architecture. And then other things like Maker for issuing stable coins, and then just stable coins in general, right? Like, I'm not talking about stable coins like UST, which were obviously Ponzi's, but stable coins like the centralized ones that we all know and use and, maybe love or don't love, but you still use them, right? And then the decentralized or I guess like pseudo-decentralized these days, like DAI, and then maybe RAI as a truly decentralized one. These things are definitely the things that we should be focusing more of our efforts and time on. And these are the things that Ethereum excels at. Ethereum does have a pretty big degen side. I mean, we saw this play out in DeFi Summer. It has, a side where people are just like issuing shit coins and trading them and whatever else you want to do. But in the bear market, the fundamental side of Ethereum, the slow and steady state of Ethereum shines. And we see that with all these protocols, as I said, this year, all these DeFi 1.0 protocols that have been around for a while, acting as they are programmed to act, acting predictably, being able to weather this extreme storm that we've seen this year. And I think it's not talked about enough because I guess like the reason why, or one of the reasons why it's not talked about enough, besides being boring for a lot of people, is that people want to speculate on things. And when you're looking at something that like Aave or like a Uniswap, for example, there's not that much to speculate on. I mean, you know what you're getting with Aave, you know what you're getting with Uniswap. You know that the chance of Uniswap enabling a fee take on the token and paying it out to token holders is quite low for the time being. You know that Aave already has that ability built in, so there's no, narrative to harp on about, nothing to look forward to there. You know that Aave is probably going to come out with upgrades, and it's probably going to be a while before they do that. But as I said, you know what you're getting with these steady state protocols. Whereas people who want to speculate, they don't want to know what they're getting. They just want the narratives. And that's why you see, especially in bull markets, the narratives are so powerful. And then once it's actually delivered, that power goes away. Because you can tell a story, and you can tell the greatest story ever. But once reality hits you, it kind of erases the magic of that story. So the perfect example, and I always go back to this because it was such a huge example, in the Cardano ecosystem, they didn't have smart contracts. And then there was all this hype about smart contracts. Everyone was going on about once they implement it, it's going to kill Ethereum. It's going to become like this premier platform. It's going to be amazing, ADA to the moon, all that sorts of stuff. And then since they deployed smart contracts, ADA has been down only. I mean, leading up to it, of course, it pumped, right? But why did it pump? Well, the narrative, the story, the belief, people truly had this belief that once smart contracts were implemented, Cardano was going to take over the world. And of course, that didn't happen. That was during a bull market as well. And if I had to take something within Ethereum that had maybe a similar kind of story and narrative around it, but I think is very different, was the merge. And it's very different because one, the merge happened in a bear market, so totally different market conditions. And two, the merge, I feel like people might have gotten the wrong idea about the merge. And I tried to warn about this a lot of times, but the merge had a very powerful story behind it. It was a fundamentally huge upgrade for Ethereum, and it succeeded, and everything went really well, and it's been very good for I think like ETH's price against Bitcoin. But if you look at it in terms of ETH's price against US dollars, it's gone down since then, right? We had a little bit of a narrative pump, and then it's gone down. So I think you can compare the two as kind of like these narratives and stories that never live up to the hype. And it goes for absolutely anything in crypto. But that's the short to medium term speculation hype. The long term is where it counts a lot. And within Ethereum, there is a lot of hype around certain things. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around EIP 1559, and ETH is basically, I guess, more than 50% down from where it was when 1559 went live. ETH's below the price it was when the merge went live. But these things are long-term fundamental drivers. And you know what? Cardano smart contract thing could be a long-term fundamental driver for Cardano, but I mean, Cardano has a bunch of other issues with it that I believe are fundamental, and I don't think Cardano is actually going to succeed long-term. But I was just using those as examples. So when it comes to just people caring about certain things, I think it's definitely a narrative a story play, especially in bull markets. And then the boring things don't get the attention because, I mean, they're inherently boring. I mean, generally humans are not going to pay attention to many things that are boring. And the thing is that boring isn't universal either. What's boring to you may not be to someone else. There are people involved in the DAOs of these protocols that definitely don't find it boring. They find it exciting. That's their way of looking at things. That's what they do in this ecosystem, and that's totally fine. I mean, for me, there's plenty of people who would find it boring doing a daily show on Ethereum every day and having to keep up with everything, but I love it. It's my passion. So boring is not a universal thing, and it's not just because I find something boring doesn't mean you will, and vice versa. But as an aggregate thing, as an aggregate speculator thing, speculators always need the, I guess, most bombastic narratives, the most bombastic stories to latch onto, because they know that it works to, at least in the short term, be able to help them put on a trade and profit from it. That's all it is. Medium, long term, different story. Short to even medium term is definitely driven by that sort of stuff, but long term, as we say, is driven by fundamentals. But yeah, anyway, enough on that one. You can check out Stani's thread. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so a big announcement out of MStable over the weekend. So they officially released their Meta Vaults on December 2nd. I think it was about 3 days ago now, which is a composable vault architecture built on ERC 4626. Now, I've talked about ERC 4626 before, and I've talked about MStable's plans before. You guys know I'm an investor and advisor to MStable here, just to disclose that. But what does this release bring? Well, it brings exciting new updates to MStable, including a scalable architecture and setting MStable up for a multi-chain, multi-platform composability. What are MetaVaults? Well, MetaVaults are yield-generating strategies that are implemented using smart contracts. They are ERC 4626 compatible contracts that can generate yield in a diversified manner. It allows to combine and compose multiple yield sources into one. And you can see a nice graphic here of what that looks like. So basically, you've got these different yield sources underneath. They all feed up, and then they feed right up into the MetaVault. And the user only needs to put in USDC into the MetaVault, and then they take out USDC. So very simple, one transaction deposit withdrawal for the user, and it auto compounds as well for those returns and rebalances as well. And as I said, it's going to be multi-chain and multi-platform with composability there, which is obviously going to be very powerful and critical going forward because of the multi-chain world that we're going to live in. And multi-chain obviously can mean other layer ones, but obviously when we're talking about in Ethereum, we most of the time mean layer twos, and that's definitely what we need, the composability between them there. And there's a bit more information in the MStable thread here about how this all works under the hood, and you can go check that out. But if you want to check out the yields as well, you can go to yield.mstable.org to see what the yields are, how you can get involved there. And it's funny because right now I think, there's probably a certain number of people that are sitting in, maybe on aggregate, more people are sitting in stablecoins than they are deployed into the market right now. So say you have like $10,000 of a portfolio, maybe you have like, I don't know, 7,000-8,000 in USDC, and you have 2,000-3,000 in ETH or something like that. Well, maybe that USDC is sitting in your Ethereum account right now, and you're wondering, okay, well, I'm not ready to deploy it yet, but this is just sitting here doing nothing. What can I do with it? Well, you can go and earn some yield on it, right? I mean, that's the bedrock of DeFi is yield. So you can go check mStable's solution out for an easy way to do that. And then if you want to later deploy that USDC into the market because you feel like the market is going to go up and you're comfortable with the deploying there, then you can do that as well. And as I said, it's just one transaction to deposit and withdraw using the new Meta vaults. I'll link this in the YouTube description. You can go check it out for yourself. So an interesting graphic that Hudson Jameson posted over the weekend called the Ethereum Iceberg. As you traverse the layers of the iceberg, the references get more rare, uncommon, or strange. So I'll link this graphic in the YouTube description. I'm not going to read out everything here, but I thought this was funny because this is basically a test of how OG you are in the Ethereum space. I recognize pretty much everything here except the bottom. I actually didn't recognize one of the things on the bottom, and I'll read out the bottom things just so you guys can know what I'm talking about. So there's 5 things here. One of them's Andrew Miller predicted the DAO hack. The second one, Ethereum JS padding bug. Third, Mike Trout. Fourth, Mutant. Fifth, Joe Lubin Bahamas recording studio. I had absolutely no idea what any of these meant, and I asked some friends and they told me, but the reason I didn't know it was because this was quote unquote before my time. I got into Ethereum in 2017. These all happened before 2017. That's why I knew everything else, because it happened, around 2017, or it was so popular that I had heard of it, such as the DAO, right? The DAO is at the top because everyone's heard of the DAO. But then there are some others here that I hadn't heard of either, but I was pretty proud of myself because I got pretty much everything just below, above that bottom line. But yeah, this is a test for yourself as well. If you want to see how OG you are, you can go check the graphic out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But yeah, there's been a lot of things that have happened. It's kind of funny where Hudson put them on the iceberg here in terms of, I guess like this is ranked in terms of how well known it is. Like, for example, at the top, he has, the Bored Ape, Yacht Club, the DAO, Uniswap, Solidity, and DeFi Summer. Like, pretty much everyone in Ethereum knows about, I guess you could say 3 or 5 of these things at any given time. Like, I would say there's some people who they wouldn't know about DeFi Summer because it happened, over 2 years ago now. The DAO, maybe some people don't know about it because it happened quite a while ago, like 6 years ago. But, I think Uniswap everyone would know about, and Bored Apes I think everyone would know about as well. Solidity, it's pretty hard not to come across it considering that Ethereum is, everything's built, all the smart contracts are built, well, most of them are built in Solidity, right? But then you go further and further down, and yeah, it's just a test of your knowledge. So, a test of your OG-ness, I should say. So you can go check this out. I'll link the graphic in the YouTube description below. All right, so Pseudotheos had a tweet over the weekend where he said, reject Web3, embrace crypto. So terminology, Web3 and crypto here. I remember writing a Daily Gwei newsletter about this quite a while ago now, saying embrace Web3 and reject crypto, because at the time I thought that the Web3 terminology would be more, I guess, like positive for the crypto ecosystem, so to speak, or for our industry than the crypto terminology, because the crypto terminology had been poisoned over the years. At least that's what I thought at the time. And this was, I think, during the bull market. And Web3 was like this new flashy thing that we and then more people could understand it because it was a continuation of Web2 and all that stuff. But I think over the last maybe 12 to 18 months, that has been like completely obliterated. I don't think that the term Web3 is safe anymore to use around normies especially. It's definitely something that's been poisoned as well. And honestly, no one uses it to describe crypto as a whole. They more so use it to describe the applications. So I think we're just going to be stuck with crypto forever, even though crypto isn't like just exclusive to cryptocurrency or crypto assets. It's obviously for cryptography, but I guess the bedrock of crypto assets is cryptography. So it doesn't really matter that it's not exact. But yeah, I guess we've lost the battle for Web3, guys. I think crypto is here to stay. I don't think that Web3 is going to replace it. And yeah, I guess I was wrong to think that Web3 was going to replace it back then. But I guess maybe I could be forgiven because it was a bull market. But anyway, leaving that at that. Last couple of things to get through. Bankless announced that they have bought Earnifi, which is an airdrop hunting tool. So for those of you who don't know, Earnifi is a tool that lets you put in your address. It hunts airdrops for you. And then if you want to, so they have like a free tier where they show you the most common airdrops that everyone already knows about, such as the Uniswap airdrop and a few others like the ENS airdrop and things like that. But then they go deeper, and if you pay, I think it's like $20 or something, they'll show you all the airdrops that you've missed that you may not have heard of. And I think this is pretty cool because the business model makes a lot of sense where they give you the free tier, they show you, hey, like we can find the airdrops, right? This is a legit service, and here are the ones that you've missed, and you just put in all your addresses and you find them. But then going even deeper to ones that you may not have even heard of, they could potentially be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Paying $20 to claim those is worth it. And they actually show you the dollar amount of the airdrop, but they won't show you the information of obviously what that airdrop is until you pay. But I think it's just like a pretty genius business model. And I think Bankless acquiring them is a pretty good fit as well. I mean, Bankless has been trying to branch out from being just a media company into basically everything in crypto, and this is, I guess, another step on their journey. So congrats to them and to Earnifi for being acquired by them. You should go definitely check out the tool. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. I personally haven't paid for the tool, just full disclosure here, but I have used it for the free tier, and I've also seen people use it and give me good feedback about it, and obviously Bankless acquiring it is a pretty big source of legitimacy for me. So you can go check it out if you haven't heard of this tool yet. There may be hundreds or thousands of dollars waiting for you, but as I said, not an ad, not sponsored at all. You guys know I don't do ads on the Refuel. Just figured it was something that you guys might be interested in hearing about. All right, last up here is for the Australians among us. There is a petition right now, basically to sign. You can sign this petition if you want to let the Australian government know that as citizens, we reject, or at least we are concerned about central bank digital currencies. And we're also concerned about the Reserve Bank, or the government in Australia, wanting to limit cash in the economy. There is a rule right now in Australia, I believe, that you can't do cash purchases over $10,000 or something. I don't know if it's currently implemented, but it was a rule. And this isn't unique to Australia. Obviously, a lot of the Western nations all over the world have been trying to get rid of cash because, for obvious reasons, right? I mean, cash is actually anonymous, or it can be anonymous, or I guess I should say pseudonymous, anonymous from the government to an extent, right? Obviously, it's harder for the government to track this for tax purposes, and there's a bunch of other reasons there. But they have, we have digital money, so to speak, or I guess like a centralized digital money when you put your cash into a bank, and then the bank kind of like changes it into their, puts it into the digital banking system, and it just becomes numbers on a screen. And then we have crypto, and then we have these CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, that are kind of making the rounds, and obviously central banks are going to love this because it allows them to have complete visibility over the financial system, and governments love this as well. But the downsides come in the form of control. They're so centralized that what could happen is something that happens in China, where the government could say, well, disable this person's account completely, or limit how much they can spend, all this other stuff. I mean, it's obviously pretty dystopian when you think about the implications of this sort of stuff. So if you are concerned about that, and you are in Australia, definitely go check out this petition. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But thanks to, I think it was Crypto Spanglish, for putting this on my radar in the Discord channel. Appreciate that one. But I think on that note, that's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.